Shau Ying Au, or Mary, as a lot of people knew her as. My mother was born and raised in Hong Kong, where she met and fell in love with my father. They got married and moved to Long Island and had 2 daughters. My father owned the China Moon restaurant in Levittown and later the China Light restaurant in East Valley. My mother would work on weekends to help out. I always remembered her baking cakes to bring home to me. When my sister and I were old enough, we also helped out along with our cousins at the restaurant in East Meadow. My sister and I remember changing the restaurant background music from easy listening music to rock and roll, much to the dismay of our father. My sister and I remembered how my mother also played Elvis Presley and Whitney Nelson records at home. She played Hello, Mary Lou so often that would drive my sister and I crazy. In the 1980s, the restaurant was sold. My parents retired and had more time to visit with family and friends. A few years later, they started to struggle financially. Our mother had to go back to work to make ends meet, and also at that time, my father's health started to decline. She became stressed from working and taking care of our father. It was also at that time she was introduced to SGIDs.
So I introduced my mother to Mission Shaman Buddhism in 1987, practicing in New York, and she started practicing going to meetings because I knew she really needed it. I mean, she was struggling so much and suffering, and so I felt that when she started to practice, her heart just opened up. And her compassion, her warmth, and her concern for others began to emerge from within her life. Because before that, she was really, really unhappy. And so I knew she needed something. And it's really funny, when I first received my Gohanzen, I didn't tell my parents. I just had my shakabuku just sneaking upstairs. I was living upstairs. In my bedroom, we had a private Gohanzen ceremony, and then I told my mother later after the fact, so what should we do? It's it's there. She can't do anything about it. So then she heard me chanting, and then she started to ask me, well, what are you doing? And so I just explained it to her, and I think she saw a change in me, so she just started to practice, which was amazing. And then I realized, all right, she better get her own, because I would be doing Ganyo, and I had to go to work, and she'd be chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, so that wasn't going to work out. So then she received the Gohanzen in 1987, and just so happy she did, and thank you so much. I mean, I just see all the members' faces. I thank you so much for taking care of her and just really, welcoming with open arms, so I really appreciate that. So even though she was still struggling, she found joy from all the members and the practice of chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo and attending meetings. And she loved to chant for everyone else's health and happiness. After our mother became widowed in 1999, she moved to Victorian Homes on Senior Co-op, where she met many new friends. Our mother was a very thoughtful person. She remembered everyone's birthday. And then some. And then the letters that she would write, those letters, she would just love writing letters to everyone dear to her. And I think she wrote them because she wanted us to know how much she loved and appreciated us, and also to let us know her struggles. And I had a letter, and it was the last letter she wrote. It was to my husband. His birthday was July 6th. And she wrote him a letter, and it was like a bio, and it was really long, and it was just amazing. And I kept saying, Bill, you have to call Mommy, because she wrote you this letter, and so we called her on her birthday. That's the last time I spoke to her. Her birthday was July 20th, and so that was the last time that I spoke. Because because I had to have the life condition to talk to her because I never knew what was going to come up with her. Because she struggled, but she was also, I have to say, the last conversation I had with her was just the most amazing, most joyful, like there was no complaining. It was just like the most amazing conversation that I had with her, that she was really happy and she was struggling, but she was really fighting. So I was just so proud and happy of her that she was able to do that. So she wrote those letters because she wanted to know how much she loved and appreciated us. And then she would frequently give apples, tea bags, socks. And now I really see everyone got socks. And then when I would visit from Florida, Bill and I would always get tea bags or when she came to visit us in Florida, she would just give us tea bags. Like she always had to show appreciation. Really amazing. She gave these gifts to families, friends, doctors, older members. And one time she's told me she introduced the bus driver, the able ride, the able ride driver. So, and I guess this was, I heard a little bit of it then. This was Glenn Havens who told me this. I must have spoke to him like an hour the other day. And he told, this is what I heard, that she introduced him to them. She told to everybody, of course, she did. She was just so open and warm. So she, this bus driver opened up to her and said his wife was having a really hard time conceiving. And so she's like, oh, you have to chant. Now you have to practice. I don't know if he went to meetings, I'm not even sure. I don't know if his name was Martin. I'm not sure. Martin. So he,
Who's Martin?
So you must be practicing then, right? And your wife she's pregnant, right? She had her, I know she, because she told him to practice, and then Martin's wife had a child, so congratulations. So then I remember visiting my mother in Florida, from Florida to New York, and this really stuck out in my head. We would go to Trader Joe's. That was her favorite place to go. Oh, thank God they're going to open up the Trader Joe's in Tampa. I'm so happy. I missed that. That's one story I missed from New York. So, because it was from Florida, well, not near me. So I felt like it was like a scene out of Cheers. Everyone watched Cheers with Norm. Everyone knew him, like, hey, Norm. So it was like my mother, like, hi, Mrs. O. They just all knew her, and she knew everybody else. It was just amazing. And they were all so happy to see her. So she could light up a room with a warm smile and her outgoing personality. She was friendly to all and loved by everyone who knew her. So there's a quote I'd like to share from Nichiren Daishonin's Buddhism about life and death. Cycles of life and death can be likened to the alternating periods of sleep and wakefulness. Just as sleep prepares us for the next day's activity, death can be seen as a state in which we rest and replenish ourselves for a new life. In this light, death should be acknowledged along with life as a blessing to be appreciated. So she's in her sleeping phase right now. So, but we will miss our mother very much, but she wouldn't want us to be sad at her passing. She's now finally on the long vacation that she always wanted because she always wanted to go on vacation, go away. And she's young again, and she is reunited with our father.
That's great.